All right, so let me go live on YouTube, and we will not keep these people waiting too much longer.
Cool.
All right, we are live. Let's kick things off. Welcome, everyone, all the wonderful people, fans of Affray Interactive. I hope you are enjoying the recent update of patch 14.1, this little sub patch that gives you the much requested feature to have checkpoints. We have a really cute little devlog that I just got recently. I will be figuring out the best way to get that to you on YouTube. But what better way? We are getting close to July 4th. We are getting close to vacation time. It is the middle of summer. And what better way to kick off summer than a little bit of a Friday evening with Yi? One of our concept artists who does this fantastic work of many of the interiors. So Yi, tell us about yourself and let us know, what are we looking at here?
Oh, okay. Hello everybody. Thanks for joining. And a little about myself, I guess, first is that I'm a concept artist. I've been working with Fray for maybe half a year now. It's not that long, but I guess I have to say I'm having a lot of fun working on SCP 5K project is a lot of fun, a lot of interesting. I'm more of a environment concept artist, and there's a lot of environment to do on this project, which I can share some of those that has been released in the updates with you guys and some of my thought processes and how we go around designing all these environments to make it a interesting element in the game. And yeah, I guess that's about it. I've been working as a concept artist for about 8 years, I think. Yes, it's been that long. I feel old, but a while, and I don't know. It's my passion. I feel to be able to design things, especially for entertainment games. Especially, I've been a fan of games since I was little, and I love drawing. I love coming up with made up stuff. So being a concept artist is kind of the calling for me, and being able to work on this project has also been a blast.
So, did you get started with games, or did you do concept art for like comics or movies, or what was the kind of initial start? Since you've been doing it for a considerable amount of time.
Hmm. Yeah, but let's see. I think, well, I didn't quite actually study art or design when I was in like grade school or college. I was I was studying something completely different, like something mundane. Like I was a economics major back in university. And then after my first job, I realized, okay, I'm gonna work for 30 something years for my life, and I want to do something I'm more interested in. So I found out that concept art is a viable, quote unquote, job, and then I kind of look into it, try to find education for myself, and I just dove into it. And since I started that, after I finished a little some extra study, I mostly I've been working on games. I haven't had much chance to work on, say, animation or films, but I have worked on quite a variety of genres of games, like RPGs, strategy games, VR. I worked at a VR company for a while, and some FPS like 5K.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking at your art station, and there's so many wonderful pieces. It seems like you've got a great knack for producing sci-fi art, as well as sort of like detailed concept art for a lot of great cybernetic characters. I guess when you were starting out, what was sort of your artistic influences that you drew for your own style?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I say And as an artist, I feel that a lot of the other artists will agree with me is that our styles mainly come from our experiences. And it's not just the experiences that we accumulate in the industry on the job. It's the experience that we accumulated throughout our lives. When since I was little, I like fantasy stories. I read a lot of fantasy books and like Lord of the Rings, among others. And as I got older, I got into more sci-fi. I'm interested in the genre of sci-fi, the possibility those writers will come up with, and all those imaginative, possible futuristic worlds that they create. Like, for example, I love Star Wars. It's not exactly sci-fi, but Star Wars is a vast universe where a lot of things happen and a lot of imagine it and a lot of potential for imagination. So that's a lot of my influences. Of course, I got influenced by all the games I played and all the movies I've watched. Mm, so yeah, I mean, sci-fi is kind of a personal favorite genre of mine, and that's my go-to when I want to create something.
And I could definitely feel the love of sci-fi oozing from all your work. By any chance, have you ever heard of Tales from the Loop?
Tales from the Loop. I think I've heard that just recently, actually, but
Well, I think it was a TV
right now I can't
series.
imagine remember what.
It was a
Oh
TV
yeah.
series on Amazon, but it's based on these illustrations from a Swedish artist, Simon Statenhag, and his artwork.
Ah, that's what it is. Yeah. Mm, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
His
I
art
love his work too.
his your art feels greatly reminiscent of like a lot of his pieces, which is a very high compliment. His stuff is like really cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
I wouldn't. That would be a that's yeah, it's a yeah, high compliment to putting me in as an equal to him. He's yeah, his work is very inspiring. Way of storytelling, telling a story using visuals and all the atmosphere, the all the camera choices he makes in his pieces are just, you know, it draws you into the world and it makes you want to see more. I'm definitely inspired by a lot of his work too.
so we do have a few questions from the YouTube audience. Genesis asks, "What was your favorite room you got to design?"
My favorite room I got to design as part of the SCP-5K.
Yes.
Yeah, I am assuming. Let's see things I could talk about. You know what? This one is up there, the one that I'm showing on my screen. This is the D-class prison that I got to design as and in association with other concept artists and art director, of course. But this is a very interesting room, interesting space to start with. This is where they keep the D-class prisons when they're not, exploiting them per se. And this is part of the Area 12 facility. And after the containment breach happened, this place is completely taken over by SCP-1262. So it makes it more interesting in a way that it's a man-made structure mixed with organic elements, and it's containment breach, so it wouldn't be like in perfect state. Everything, lights are running, electricity is flowing, or anything. But
Uh, definitely did notice that you did a lot of great pieces, especially that were featured especially prominently with the 0.14 update with the D class containment hall. Just to give you everyone a little bit of an overview, Yi is going to be doing a very exciting exercise tonight where he's going to show us designing something new from scratch. He picked up an SCP. It was the blood pools.
that's right.
Yes, that's right. He's going to create an original piece right here on the spot. In just a few minutes, you will get to see art crafted that no one has ever seen. The Yi patented interpretation of the iconic SCP blood pools. Taking the Affray magic and bringing it to you, just like Kyle Fitzpatrick when he designed several SCPs. I cannot wait to see what he does. But before we get into those blood pools, I would love for you to give us some insights to some of the pieces, especially some of the stuff that we've been able to post of the prisons with all those organic, wonderful organic pieces of biomatter and plant life.
Yeah, yeah, I could go through some of these. So to like as a warming up to what we usually do as concept artists, and we do really a lot of stuff. Again, I guess the thing of being a concept artist that you're flexible. You have to be flexible most of the time. You have to be able to do very quick stuff, quick and messy, rough stuff. But you also have to be able to create some polished, finished stuff for for all kinds of purposes of production. And yeah, it's the same with this D-class prison environment. At first, we were asked to, okay, we have a rough idea of what this environment is. We need some key visuals, some, let's say, I guess it's a redoing of what we already have at the point to make it more interesting, to make it fit more with the gameplay. So we had to create. So at first, the first thing we did was like creating these more rougher sketches to showcase what this place could be. And these are not meant to be like super finished, super polished, that every pixel is perfect. These are just presented in a way that shows the idea of the place, that lighting, how the structures can be, how those SCP 1262 plant vines will be hanging around and infesting the area. And then we go into, after we like have some discussions, okay, this is a pretty good direction, we could go with that, and we have to expand upon that to make the details readable for the 3D artist and designing all those other details. This is one of the finished piece for the environment. You guys can see it. And yeah, so we have this central spire that allows the personnel to go up and down, and then they can reach different parts of the prison. You can see on the sides there are these prison cells, corridors and cells on the sides. And like I said, the entire place is infested by SCP-1262. So they have these vines going up the main spire, the middle tower, and it creates a very interesting atmosphere for this space. And it is in the latest. It is one of the major things that's in the recent update. I believe it's very interesting. And yeah, so we did a couple of these to show off different angles, different parts of this environment.
And this is something I've been dying to ask you about. There's like so many like 3D renders here you have. So how do you build this? Do you like have a whole other skill set of like building 3D environments in Blender? Because I think it's amazing that you like build these 3D things and then you paint over them. What is your process for this?
Yeah, like I said, as a concept artist, you have to be pretty flexible, especially nowadays. Unlike, I don't know, I don't have that kind of experience in the industry, but according to some of the, more experienced people that heard talked about it in the early days, if you're working on games, if you can draw, then you're the concept artist. It doesn't matter what kind of education you have. If you can draw, then you'd be put up to design something for those games. Yeah, I'm talking about like the 90s and early 2000s. the concept art industry isn't that big, and there aren't that many people in the industry, so that's what happens. But nowadays, gaming is so it has matured so much, and the industry has expanded so much as well. And there are so many people working, and those AAA games they take millions, hundreds of millions to make. So the competition is much harsher, more competitive as an industry, especially concept artists is I guess for a lot of people it feels like a job that's attainable. It doesn't take a lot of technical, actually it does, but it doesn't seem like it does. It doesn't seem like it takes that much technical abilities. But it's true in a way. You can draw, anyone can draw. You can pick out a pen and draw on a paper. But these days I'm getting off track. These days, as a concept artist, you normally have to have a good amount of a certain amount of skill in 3D to be able to do some basic 3D stuff to it will help your process a lot. Like for me, for example, I mainly do environments and I like doing environments designs and especially man-made art surface, as they would say. So when creating these kind of environments, you have to be, you have to be kind of precise because buildings are and man-made structures, man-made things, they have hard edges. They are like built on the grid. So when you're designing them, you put them kind of correctly in perspective in the image. That's why that's when 3D comes in handy because when you use 3D, it doesn't matter. You can just put things in the scene and you can create things that looks right pretty easily. I mean, much easier than you would when you have to hand draw everything.
So, what 3D program did you use? Blender to make this that we're seeing right now?
Yeah, that's correct. I use Blender almost every day in my workflow these days. I've been using Blender for a while. It's been, I don't know, years. No, yeah, it has been years. But when there was one point when Blender was like not that user friendly during one of the updates a couple of years ago, they did a major revamp of the UI, some of the functions, and it became much more accessible and user friendly. That's when a lot of concept artists or maybe game developers start using that, including myself.
And would you see how long did it take you to learn Blender? 'Cause it's yeah, I've seen tutorials with it, and it seems like a very complicated tool. But I keep on meeting so many young people who have incorporated it into their skill set.
How long? It's not a like a definite time period of time. It's like you try to at first you do try to look at some tutorials and learn how the basics work. So maybe I took a class at some point to learn how pro the program functions, how to do all the things that's basic and necessary for everyday workflows. But I would say it probably took about a couple of months or a year or so trying to use it daily in my workflow to really get a hang of it, to be more comfortable using it on a daily basis.
Uh, and where would you say you spend more concept time when you're building a new piece? Like, would you say it's 50-50 drawing and 50 in Blender? Or would you say you spend more time planning in Blender and then drawing is much easier?
That also depends, but that sounds about right. It would depend on the piece. For example, the one I'm showing on my screen right now, it's a lot of man-made structures, a lot of precise things. So that's when 3D shines. But for this one, I definitely have spent more time in 3D trying to make sure everything looks right and then go to drawing the finish. For this one, I would say it's like a 70-30, even more. But in as a finishing, for example, yeah, this is the same environment, but with the SCP infestation, that's a lot more organic. There's a lot more organic elements in it, and I have to show the atmosphere, all the mood in this area. So that's when 3D isn't as useful. Or if you want to achieve that using purely 3D, it takes a lot of time. That's when you just stop there and then do a render and then use your 2D skills and take it into Photoshop or whatever program you like to finish the job.
And multidisciplinary seems to be the way of the future, and it is nice to see how you employ it. On YouTube, Genesis asks a very interesting question. If you were to make a containment zone for SCP-2761, Justice for Bananazilla, how would you design it? Um, so in case you haven't seen it, Kyle did like a mock design for Bananazilla. There's this very beloved SCP. It's like a kind of like a dinosaur, only it's a dinosaur made out of a banana. um, he's kind of hypothetically asking, what would you do to create a containment zone for Bananazilla?
I yeah, I have to read up on that first and to look at what kind of traits those that particular SCP has. But as a general rule, I would say that to design something particularly, I mean, this is a good way of designing things. I would say that you have a purpose for an environment. So if that SCP, if it's a banana that's like a dinosaur that's formed with banana. So I guess I will have to use some kind of at least some materials for the floor that doesn't slip. That's not very easy to slip on because if it's banana, it will be pretty slippery. And probably refrigerate. I have to refrigerate the place because banana actually go bad pretty quickly, in my experience. Yeah, you want to study it, right? You want to study the thing. You don't want it to start to rot, grow flies, when you're still studying it.
I love the image of
But
like
to
this.
act.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it was just really funny the idea of like this cold freezer, Jurassic Park like freezer that's filled with non-sticky surfaces, lest the SCP researchers be dealt with the horror of slipping on the discarded body parts of Bananazilla. But it's a really interesting approach. I hope there's an excuse for you to actually bring that to life.
Yeah, that would be a pretty interesting one. Much like
So
things we do.
now that we have um uh are there any other pieces you'd like to show off, or would we like to get into designing the blood pool?
Okay, I guess have certain we spent a good amount of time talking about the ones we have in the game. These are pretty similar. I pulled these from the dorm, which is also a updated area in the game, or in the most recent update. So we have to design displays with a gameplay level design, and then we have to dress it up pretty and make it interesting looking, using some of the same principles I just talked about. So just giving you guys a quick look at these things that we do as on our jobs. Oosh.
And designing these areas, what
Okay.
were things you looked to for inspiration for building all the various facilities in area 12?
Yeah, I guess various things. first you would understand the story of the environment you're trying to design for, and then you kind of let your thoughts go out from there to expand from there. Okay, what when I'm designing this, for example, this is a dormitory, kind of a lobby area for the dormitory. And okay, what's the dormitory look like? The all the kind of dormitory areas I've been to, dormitories I've seen, or those ones in real world, or you could definitely go online and search, okay, what kind of cool dormitory images that are you can take reference from, and then you have to consider, okay, this is not just a normal dormitory. You have to, it's in area 12, so scientists work here, and security is a bigger concern than you say a college dorm. So you will have things like, and it's underground as well. You have things like lighting, the pipings to make sure everyone has what they need, the life functions, and then you have emergency lightings because things often go wrong in these research facilities, and you have probably fire extinguishers. So those small things that will come in when you think about the grand story. And of course, this one has the again the infestation on top of that, so it helps.
Was there any plant horror you drew when considering how many of these pieces feature SCP 1261?
1261
Yeah, isn't that the
SCP
creeping vine?
is I believe that's
All
1262.
right, yeah, you might be right. I might be
Oh, okay, okay,
I might
okay,
be
okay. I thought
I
I just
I
on
was
that, but there is definitely a on it. No, 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 it's good. Plant tour. Let's see. I mean, I'm fortunate enough when I was brought on, there has been a good amount of like designs for these SCPs, for a good number of SCPs, including 1262. So I don't have to. I have a lot of the heavy lifting done for me, essentially. So I can focus on the architecture, the structures, and then throw what the SCP on top of that. So it's a definitely a collaborative endeavor to make this, to be able to make this image. I definitely cannot claim all the credits.
and we did have another interesting question from YouTube. Burlick asks, which one is your favorite SCP from your game and from the entire SCP lore? I know you're a little bit new to the SCP world, but do you have a favorite from the game? And also, out of like just browsing through the incredibly wide world of SCPs, is there one that you really like?
SCP, yeah, you are absolutely correct. I'm rather new to the world of SCP, the entire lore. There's so many of them, and on most days I'm looking at something new. And when it comes to the ones in the game, I don't I don't know if I can talk about it.
All right, so maybe
There's
there's one that has
yeah,
not been seen yet that is his favorite. Then I
I
will
don't
adjust the.
know. It might be there. Yeah, it might be there. I'm not sure. There. Okay, I'll talk to you. I mean, could you enlighten me on whether the door squib is
Yes, the door
released?
squid
Door
is
squib?
in the game. It is live. The door squid is
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, yeah. I just learned about those recently, and I think the mechanism of those is extremely interesting. That they would like take the form of a normal door, and it's like a yeah, it's very much like a trap. When you go close to it, they will just come out. The door becomes the monster and then eats you. That's definitely interesting.
uh,
One of the more interesting ones.
door squid definitely deserves extra props considering it's kind of like a classic of the RPG mimic, where you've got that like chest that you think there's loot in it, but it's actually a monster. Uh-oh. The door squid is like the SCP version of that, which I think is like a really cool design. I hope we get a door
It is.
squid plush. But so let us move forward and let's see you design the blood pool. I cannot wait to see what you do working from scratch.
Okay, let's try that. Hope I don't shit the bed. Yeah. Yeah, I came across this SCP just a couple of days ago. Thought it's a very interesting idea, and it's an interesting idea. Yes, it's an interesting SCP. I will like let's keep this very similar to how I normally work. So what I do is we don't just jump into drawing scribbles on a block pool, a pool here, and some trees around it. No, that wouldn't result in a very good design usually. Sometimes it might, but not in my experience. Usually we have to, understand what this thing we're designing for is, and then think about various things, all the various traits of this object, subject that we're designing for. Let's see, SCP-354, the blood pool.
Ooh, blood
So I read
pool.
up a little bit about blood pool indeed. I read a little bit about this and it says that it's been discovered in the wild in somewhere in Canada, according to the SCP wiki. And this thing is of unknown substance, unknown origin, and it's a pool in the wild. And sometimes hostile entities emerge from the pool, and usually, yeah, entities emerge from it, and usually they're hostile. So naturally, the foundation had to contain it, had to, but it's a pool. It's a poolable liquid-ish thing, so they cannot exactly extract it, and they cannot even find the depth, how deep this thing is. So it's just there. You cannot really move it. So what they did, as what we probably would, is to keep it there and build a parameter around it. So let's see. We have to design this unknown origin and discover in the wild. Excuse my sloppy writing, just thinking out
Hey,
loud.
it does not matter as long as you can read it. Does not care. These are just
Mhm.
tools for your work. As long as you can read it, then it is just merely steps towards getting this blood pool made. So this is all part of your process.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it is. Although some of the time I can't even read my own writing, so I should be a little more careful. Solution is so according to the lore, the Foundation built an area 354 around it to contain it so that whatever comes out of there, they can quickly respond to it and avoid it from being unleashed to the world and cause havoc. Let's see. I think we could do a probably exterior design for this guy, for this area 354, at least for the time limitation. That will be enough. Exterior. Okay. And when it comes to like designing these things, definitely have to put in some little bit of thinking, I would say. So it's a containment facility, and it's especially for containing something that will come out of it. So I'm thinking I'm thinking a prison would be a good inspiration for this kind of environment, this particular kind of environment, because you're trying to stop things from coming out. usually when it comes to, secret government facilities, they don't want people to wander in more than they don't want things to get out. Well, I guess equally, they don't want people like civilians to get in. They're just kids to get in as much as they don't want things to get out. But in this case, they're definitely more concerned about things getting out because that's way more dangerous. If some civilians just wander in, it's not that big a deal. They could just always find them and throw them out. So let's see. We use a prison as an inspiration. And so what do containment requires? Probably walls. What kind of walls? Fences for like outer outer parameter. And I mean, from what I know, this blood pool is considered quite dangerous. So on the inner side, it probably have I'll use concrete to for extra security, concrete walls. And what should we do? What else? For security, definitely they want surveillance. That means cameras and guards around the perimeter at the very least. Hmm, what else? So thinking about prisons once again, usually they have watchtowers. I think it would doing concept art, doing designs. A lot of times we can pull from like pop culture or real world, because in the real world, most of the things exist for a reason. They have the purpose. That's why people make them, to build them. And when people know and people are exposed to this kind of information throughout their lives, so when we see a watchtower outside of a facility or in and around the perimeter of facility, we know it's guarding something. It has a security feature to it. That's why instead of just a wall, if you have a wall with a watchtower on it, then when someone sees it, okay, immediately understand, okay, this is guarding this place is guarding something. Okay, they don't want things to come out or maybe get in. Cool. And then watchtower. What else? Okay, so this is in the wild nature, probably in the woods. For the foundation to be able to create this like facility around it, they'll probably have to clear out the land. So cut them down, and they'll have some tree stumps around it to to show that okay, this was originally a woods, but the foundation has since created a perimeter, created this facility. And let's see, for them to have all of this, they would need personnel as guards or just maintenance people. And to power everything here, they will need some kind of power source. And to create that power source, they'll probably need generators. That'll be the easiest way to make this, to make that happen. Instead of getting the power grid to cover this land, they would just bring a generator here. For generators to work, they need fuel. Yeah. So if you're just thinking about like um yeah, if you're just
One
thinking about
one inter-
containment. Yeah,
one
go ahead.
interesting note. Genesis on YouTube says, "Reminder: SCP-354 is expanding in size. So you might want to keep that in mind. that like it's always expanding. So maybe there's some sort of measure that's like trying to halt the expansion, but it's pushing through. Like I don't know, it has like multiple plate layers and it's burning through it. I'm just spitballing. Do not take it. This is just a suggestion from the audience.
Okay, that's cool. I did not know that, but that will also make a very, very interesting point. In that case, they might have, if they don't know a way to stop it from expanding, they will have to just expand the facility itself, or they could build kind of preemptively dig down around the pool to make deep roots for the concrete walls so that it can slow it down. But yeah, that's one of the solutions I can think of right now. It might not show up in the exterior, or it might, we can do, for example, they need to expand kind of frequently this facility. So they will need materials such as concrete and beams to make the structures. And yeah, it might be an interesting addition. Like you can see they have this outside the facility, they have this little area that holds a lot of the construction materials. When you see it, you can tell that, okay, cool, that they're expecting to build more. There could be a nice detail. Okay, interesting. Feel things, yeah. So with this, okay, how much time now? It's okay. That took a little bit of time, but I think this part of the process is very important for when we design things. We need to give ourselves some extra information to be able to, to design something a little more interesting than if I didn't think about any of these. I want a containment of a pool. Maybe I'll have woods on the floor, but a wall, and maybe a rectangle shaped walled off area with a main facility on top, and that's it. But that's not very interesting to look at. So that's why we go through with this process to make sure we come up with something interesting. Then let's see. We have several options at this point. If you have for example, if I had a very good idea of what I'm gonna do, I could jump into 3D to do some like blocking out for not just for visualization too, and then maybe took one of the blockouts and draw on top of that. Or sometimes you have all these thought out, but you'd still need like some more visual ideas because that's what it's all about, right? Doing concept art is you have to bring everything to visuals. That have to probably do a couple of sketches and find out. And I think I'll do that. Maybe just one. I don't need to do too many at this point, just for the sake of time. Let's see. I have a piece of ground here.
Yeah,
If
I would
there's
have.
any questions or things to talk about, you're free to join in. But because I'm just drawing at this point,
Uh,
probably answer some questions.
uh, so people in the Discord, thank you for being chill. But if you have any questions, as Yi is about to go into the mechanical drawing process, please ask them and I will distribute them. He was giving us a wonderful overview about all the considerations, and I hope this helps you reflect on what the skills are required for a good concept artist and how much work and care goes into the environments. It may seem like it's just cool. Oh, it's a cool military base and it's got a cool cylinder, but there is a lot of conceptual storytelling that goes into visualizing these things, and may not be apparent from a glance, but I hope this process gives you an idea in how much love and care is taken into any of these environments. Losing Sanity has a question. How much time do you spend on each concept art piece?
Let's see. It would. I mean, I've been saying this so much today. I feel bad. But it would really depend on the complexity of the environment that I need to design. For a, I guess generally for me to come up with something like going through the process I just went through, or usually it's a little more, takes a little more time, will be a little more, I guess, put in a little more thought than I would, because talking when drawing isn't my strongest suit. And to do that, and then go into some, say, 3D and then go back to drawing, it could take probably 3 days to
Ooh, wow.
have an idea that's presentable, to be presentable to place. But it could be, yeah. I mean, being yeah, game development is very. I mean, it's a living process. It's you have to be able to adapt. So when after you do that, you could have our director come in and I don't like this. You have to change that, something like that, and and you have to change it. So it could just drag on. Not that it's a bad thing. It's just that it's part of the job. You
It
have
is
to make
always
sure
evolving,
everything
always
is
changing.
really
Uh,
yep,
Losing Sanity also,
exactly.
in addition, asks, how do you decide how much detailed each piece should be? Or is that a decision that you get
Hmm.
from the game director and art director?
That happens, of course, and also, I mean, I guess in pretty fortunate to have the management of our concept art team or our team is pretty structured, so they have a good idea of when they request for something to be designed, they have a good idea of why they want it designed. So what kind of information has to be there. So when you can look at that, think about, okay, to be able to present all these information in my designs, how detailed I have to go into. Sometimes you can even work like this. I just have to frame this and then go to my art director and say, oh, it's done. I did my work. It might work because if that's all is required at this point. But sometimes you have to we need to know like how does this stair connects here, and then how does the piping go through here, and then you have to spend some extra time to detail those out to show them so that we can go down the pipeline. Boo, boo, boo. And then, yeah, watchtowers. These are useful. And then probably the main facility side of here, built out of concrete, naturally. We don't want anything to get out. Be another upper area. That's where the offices are. And outside of this, we have some more walkways where the guards can be. Yeah,
Uh,
looks
losing
kind of
san
like a prison indeed.
Losing Sanity asks, do you
Okay,
sometimes
go
decide?
ahead.
Oh, sorry. Do you sometimes decide to just abandon a piece, or you always keep drawing to see where it goes?
Ooh, I do. I do sometimes have to abandon the piece when you it happens quite often that you don't know what you're gonna get unless you start drawing it. So it could come midway in the middle of a drawing one that you realized, and this is kind of a stupid idea. I shouldn't have done this. And then you just abandon it. That's the beauty of doing all these rough sketches because how much time has this taken? Maybe 5, 10 minutes. I have one idea. If it doesn't work, no big deal. I have another few hours. I can come up with other ideas. So it does happen. It's not. It's often not the case for us to reach the best idea in first try.
Did you ever get
Mm,
frustrated though, where you feel like you've been working on a piece for like 4 or 5 hours and you still haven't quite hit an idea that you feel like works?
mm, Not very often, but yes, it has happened before. Well, what can you do at those times? I guess you could talk to someone sometimes. You have a team, so sometimes they have from outsiders' eye, they could have some good insight on, okay, maybe you're missing something here. You can think about that. That would create something interesting. Yeah, that's the fun of being in a team environment. You can always seek other opinions or just leave it for a little and then come back to it, or maybe look up some other information that will give you some more inspirations.
So consulting with other people is always a good way to get off that artist's block.
I would agree. Yeah, indeed it. So this is the walkway, other walkway path. They might have to. They can bring trucks here, and, bring materials, personnel to just say, okay, yeah, this is a not a terrible sketch. I mean, idea-wise, it is a terrible sketch, but as an idea, I think I got something out of it.
You think this sort of
Maybe this is in the
visualization?
wild.
So, in your process, is it better to sketch it out before you start to sketch it out via 3D?
Oh, mm, yes, I would say I need this like loose sketch base to kind of go through some ideas before I commit to 3D, because the as much as I sing the praise what 3D can do, 3D has limitations. One of the limitations is that it's slower. It's not as fast as scribbling something in 2D and getting an idea out. If I have to do this, even this kind of rough level of sketch in 3D, it will take not just 5 minutes. It will take probably at least 30 minutes, maybe, or more, much more.
Well,
So
that brings up an
this will
interesting.
help me.
Sorry,
Yeah.
that brings up an interesting question from a novice, dumb person like me. Why even do the 3D if you could just draw it out and drawing it out is faster? What are the benefits?
Ooh, let me tell you. That's a good question. It is, yeah. I mean, like for the same reason I praised 3D just a few minutes ago, is that there are things 3D excel at. For example, if I'm gonna draw out this watchtower perfectly in perspective, I think I didn't even use perspective in this drawing. We have to implement it. It's kind of go like this. Where's my horizon line? We're here, right? Vanishing point. Do this, do this. This is manual work. You can do it. You can definitely do it in 2D manually and drawn, and then calculate all the how the geometries would be in this kind of perspective. Like this, there's a box there. This kind of looks like this, because these things need to be cannot be off. If there's those are off, it would at the very least distract the people looking at it. It would kind of distract them away from looking at the idea. So as concept artists, as when we create these, we have to consider all these like fundamental things when we create these. And to do that, it takes time. I would say more time in 2D than 3D. So that's when 3D comes in. You can, as I would demonstrate right now, I think we're in a good spot here. I'll just take this and let 3D take over. Now, I'm not used to seeing this black background. I'm just going to flip it. Yeah, that's better.
Ooh.
And what can I do here? Here. I'll put it on another screen so that I have it as a reference when I go into 3D. And then, this is what everybody's waiting for. Gonna go to 3D. So I already have Blender opened up as my starting screen. That's not very exciting. I just need this guy as a, because oftentimes to design things to human scale is, in the end, we need to be able to walk in this game environment, and having a human scale help me design with it. Maybe do a truck. I don't do it super big. This is not a truck. This is a, I don't know what this is. So a truck is about this size relative to a human. So that's very important to have. Okay, then in this case, let's make some ground and try to expand upon
Oh,
that
do you
rough
have
sketch I
do you
just
have
did.
Blender open right now? We're still just looking in Photoshop. We can't see Blender.
Oh shit, shit. Sorry, I
You're
will
like I was like
share my
thinking I was like watching. It's like maybe he's just
when I'm
using
talking about it. Yeah,
some incredible secret.
indeed. Let me go here.
There we go. Yeah, 3D environments.
It's better.
We also had a nice whatchamacallit. Losing Sanity was saying, not a terrible sketch, but that is pure fire, complimenting you on your skills. And 90 has a very extensive question. Not sure if this has been asked yet, but do you ever import the concept art of an environment, for example, and use the image within Unreal Editor to build the environments easily?
Um, Not very common, but probably not in the same way that 90s is talking about, because the way it's been described here is sounds like how the 3D artist will build out the actual gameplay assets or from concepts. So I imagine, think I've heard it before. They do bring in concept art into the, probably not always Unreal. They're 3D application, and then try to match the perspectives so that when they're building it, they can make it as close to the concept as possible. For concept artists, when we're creating our 3D, we, well, like much like what I did, it's like we do a rough sketch, and then we could use that rough sketch as a, like, put it on the side to, as a reminder of what we're building, what kind of things are there. So reminding yourself what the idea is that you just spend some time creating, but not to the extent of building something one-to-one to it, because even in 3D, we are, creating, making iterations, I should say. So if it's not one-to-one, it's fine. You should be able to make judgments in this space as well to make sure you make a better design. Hope that explains it. Okay, so let's see here. The pool, how big is it? I don't know. It's fairly big, I would assume, if it's constantly expanding. Let's make this main building a little bigger. Doesn't need to be too high, just need to give the house that pool. And more bevel here, so it makes it a little more interesting.
Also, a few notes
This
from
ground is not big enough.
Genesis, the lore expert about the blood pool. Also, apparently, they have concrete walkways above the pool. And by the way, this would technically be the red pool containment site, not Area 354, as Area 354 was destroyed and replaced by the current containment zone by the end of the document. I did not know that 354, but little interesting lore bits that might help you in your process.
Indeed. Okay. It's a little different from what I read, but definitely has the same idea. There is, I read there's an outpost that was built to as a first measure to contain it, but then it was destroyed, and then they built Area 354 around it. But I could be wrong. Let's just, well, let's see. See, we have this part of it. Actually, why don't I? Nah, that would take too much time. Never mind. I'm just talking crazy to myself again.
No,
Talking
you're
like
never talking crazy. You are
creating.
just uh this is all part of your process. This is all part of you finding uh your place. So there's nothing crazy as long as you leads to creating great art.
I can't see what I'm doing. Oh, it's yeah, it's not as effective as I wanted. I am creating some terrain. Push, push, push to make it look more like it's in the middle of like a woods, natural area. Push, 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 push. Why doesn't this brush work? Hmm, maybe I should figure out before the street. This one's better. A little smaller. Oh yeah, that's cool. Like they kind of flatten out this place as well for the facility to make it more manageable. Build something on. This could be just all rocky, not rocky, like uneven terrain at first, but they feel the foundation. They work around here.
Ooh. Already, you've got it looks like you're making a classic N64 level.
Yeah, yeah. What else do we have? Trees, we can leave it for later. Facility itself. Okay, let's go a little further into this. This is our guy.
Just out of curiosity, that model
This is
guy,
our,
how tall is he?
he's a 1 6 inch, not 6 inches, 6 feet
I see. So
as a normal. No, he's not. I'm not sure. I'll put it. Oh, yeah, that's for just a normal dude, much like myself. Do think could expand this a bit more if they're gonna house kinds of function here. And they, like I, all those that the notes I did, you will need some power source, and the way to do that is to have a probably a power generator, and imagine you could build it adjacent to the main facility, but not exactly connected. They'll create something interesting to look at. It's not just one box, it's two. It helps the exploring element of this environment, giving some more contain this area. Oh, coming together. And between these two, we could have a corridor that's too small. Do this, connecting them. Yeah, and it will be a main entrance to this main building. Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, it should be good. Yeah. Okay. I imagine the path would go like this to the outer perimeter, which I intend to do. If I can, let's see, just create some thin wall. This is more of a like a last resort thing. Normally, the whatever comes out of the pool shouldn't get out of this building, concrete building. This is much for like stopping civilians from wandering in. Imagine they could have just fences, metal fences to
Kind of keep
avoid
everyone
that.
out.
Yeah,
So it
we don't
seems like
want.
you're definitely doing a lot of architecture here, which is very impressive to kind of see how much consideration goes when building your environments. I guess when would you say a 3D environment is kind of done? You feel like you have all the components you need.
Not at this stage. It would take a little bit more time to uh, make it. When is it done? It's like I cannot really showcase it here because it's not done. But when it's done, I could, for example, like do a crude demonstration of it. It's that down the line, I would do things like I could assign materials to it, so just to help myself understand for ease of make it easier down the line. Do things like okay, I could give this a that's metal. It's too shiny. Do this, and then could take these out. Just furthering the representation of what this thing is. Sometimes we can go pretty far with it to make almost a full-on 3D environment as a concept art, but not finished like the way game assets are, because game assets has a lot of more considerations. They need to be like optimized. They cannot have too many geometries. They have to like properly UV all those things that our 3D artists work hard on, which we are skipping this point. Yeah, that's part of the wall. Actually, I'm gonna just back and do here. I'm gonna do a little bit of magic. Hope it works. Ooh,
Ooh. So what are we seeing
whoops.
here with this kind of like segmented graph?
On the side here, you mean? On the side of my screen, that's the UV mapping. Okay,
Mhm.
I just imported the material as texture for this fence wall, and that's the UV mapping screen that I can use to map my. If I, for example, you move this box around, it will map to different areas of that texture I just imported. So I could, for example, if I think this is kind of like too standard looking. It's kind of boring. Let me just rotate it 45 degrees. It looks more interesting as a fence. That. So a lot of things that 3D artists are doing these days as well. We just use it sparingly to our, let's say, advantage when we need to do those, we do those. When we don't need to, we just draw them in 2D. We can do that too. But sometimes you're just constantly making decisions in your head about what's faster, what's more effective. Should I do this now? Or should I do this later?
And what would you say you sort of, in your artistic process, determine when you should do it now versus holding off on something?
Mm, well, it's very much like just described. I would say that if I determine something is too much of a hassle to do in 3D, I would just skip it. I would just leave it basically, and then for this space, I could always draw it in 2D if I think it's faster, or it could go very much back and forth. When I make a decision here, I regret it later, and then I come back to 3D to kind of do what I skipped on to make it easier to manage for myself down the line. So it's an evolving process over time. Push, push, push. Easier to make rectangular. No, it's not. It's off 90 degrees. It's back here. This terrain is causing some trouble. Do that. Keep it a little bit more round. So here, I think benefit from creating a gate. Fence gate.
Moritz
It's vehicles and
501st asks, can you make a campaign where you start from now on, and that means you work at the SCP Foundation day 1 or 2 is okay. You go around the site and secure, and day 3 is the containment breach, and then it starts. Um, I think that building a campaign from scratch as of right now is a little bit beyond the scope of 5K. It's definitely a cool idea, and you never know. You might see something like that in the DLC pack that's coming forward in the Omni Edition. But yeah, it's very different from 5K. But I get the idea. It's like, what if you had an SCP 5 game, if you have an SCP game where you got to play as Gordon Freeman for a little while before eventually all hell breaks loose, which is a very cool idea. But as of right now, that is not the idea that 5K is going for.
that would be cool to have to have to get to see what happens before. Like when you have a good grasp of what the main game, the main story tells, it will give you that foundation to foundation, give you that foundation to understand what happens in the main story. And then when you see something that happened before, it will be that much more impactful. Yeah. Okay. We have a nice fence gate here. Slap material on that as well. Can always make this same metal grid that we just used. Denser here. Well, I didn't do it here, but I imagine like this door could some kind of mechanism to where it goes up when they need to bring in vehicles. Again, like this is like an overview of a facility that I did from scratch, from a sketch. When we go into it in more detail, this door needs to be better designed. And that will take a little bit more time. Maybe sometimes it's not even me does it. Sometimes you could give it to another concept artist if, it all depends on the schedules.
Considering you built that door very quickly, I think it's a very impressive door, even if it's not a full door. I think it's a great visual basis for what you're cooking.
yeah, as in visual basis, that's what I'm going for, basically, to have something there to understand what it is. Then I should introduce our watchtower. Eeh, this is a sensible place to put it, because it's in the corner. That's where they have the best view. Can do here as well. Probably one. Nah, that's too close. Maybe somewhere in the back. Very much like a prison. Place that you don't want people to get out of. This tall and so we can make it more interesting. Constantly looking at it from putting just myself in the shoe of a player or audience. When you approach this thing, what do you see? So this is the angle. That's how we have to usually design for to think about if it looks perfect like this and it looks like shit like this, then it's not going to work because it's not a strategy game. It's a FPS. So you need to think about what the player sees.
Player perspective is one of the most important
Here,
aspects.
indeed. Here. You can do one of those interesting looking is you can look down, almost like a airport control tower. But that's what gives them the view going on. Yeah, here's a good cool trick. I have these other towers that I have modeled. I just make them the same as this one. Boosh. Or that's when 3D works for you. If you're in 2D, okay, I drew one, now I have to draw the other three. No, not the case here. Change it. Yeah. Okay, that looks better. I imagined be some tower is good for putting communication stuff here. Like a little stuff here, electronics, receive signals, communicating radio. Yeah, it's okay. So you can do some more here as well. So you put well, it's not a watchtower if you don't have spotlights. These simple representation. So here's another trick that will happen only into 3D. So you can make it symmetrical, just like that. Now there are four
Ooh.
more corners. I think I'm gonna double this to keep it like a consistent design language as this main facility. Make it a little more. It's a little more sci-fi, but still like brutalist, which is something we often go for with Foundation architecture in our game. Same case here. Nice, not bad, not terrible.
Solid foundation.
Fun Nice pun. Solid foundation. Douche. And that's the walkway I was talking about, like outside of the main building. If someone gets loose, burn, the the wall breaks, and someone tries to run for it, the soldiers can come out from the building and line up on this terrace to shoot it down. Yeah, we're very with kids. Well, being game developers, we're kids that we have the kid inside us that never died as we aged, and we want to put it into our products to make sure everyone can be kids just like us.
I guess that's the classic instinct to always be able to keep in mind. Never lose sight with your inner
Yeah.
kid.
What the reason we're doing this is because we love it so much that we want to keep living that. So just have to remember to have fun as much as you can
The
doing work.
classic building snow castles and forts.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get this thing for a see. Oh, I was talking about tree stumps. We could do them here. Whoosh. Not doing a very good one, but get the idea across.
Ooh, so
Stump.
is that like a tree or is that like a power container?
It's a tree stump. I was thinking about that. This place was originally in the woods where the blood pool was discovered, and then Foundation came along. They decided to make this facility around it, so they had to clear out the land around it, make that happen. So they had to cut down trees to, yeah, to achieve that. That will lead some stuff here. To also create not just for the purpose of the story. It also makes sense in the sense of making something visually interesting for the player when you come up on this. It's not just like bare ground with some trees. It's just you can see that there are things that are cut down. That this clearly this place was not originally like this. Someone made it. Someone created it. And it's stuff kind of fresh too. To see things. Yeah. Things up here. That. Okay. And we could definitely give it a texture. Now it's a tree.
Ooh.
Make sure the look look the same. Whoosh. All the trees are brown, tree color. I have not assigned any material to the ground, but it works very well as it is because it's in Canada. It's snowy. But I think if this is as an actual design, I will have to do something about it because uh, although these parts might be covered in snow, the track that they go through, the path the vehicles go through will probably be shoveled, cleared, so it's easier. More about that later. And what else? Okay, there are these cut down, so the big logs piled up around it also create extra amount of visual interest. Dun, dun. Logs. I'm doing this out of what I see in pop culture, really, because I'm not from these places. I have not seen in real life how these work. I just have an idea because they've been shown in pop culture movies,
The classic the lumberyard,
photo-
right?
photographs. Because I think that's yeah, but not too much because they just they don't actually need these. They just need a place to stack them. Oh shit! Just leave that. Maybe a couple more. Turn it around so it doesn't look like a copy. Maybe one. Cool. Make it wood. Let there be wood. Good. And whoa, do this. Main gates. Uh, I don't think we need vehicles to go inside. We just need materials or personnel. So the door doesn't need to be too big. This something not ridiculously big, but still looks like the main entrance for a facility that houses quite a bit of operation. Then, if this is the generator, I'm just thinking, they will need fuel, and they will probably bring fuel in on fuel trucks, but they cannot just put it everywhere, really. So it was for visual interest. We could put it in a silo, right? Fuel silo. A couple of those that don't need too much, too many.
Losing sanity.
Is
You asked if vehicles are
usually
coming to 5K. I would say probably not. They're not within the scope of 5K's design. But you never know. Go ask your billionaire dad. I hear he works at Nintendo. Everyone has that cousin who works at Nintendo, the one who keeps on telling us that a new Metroid game's coming. If you get him to support 5K, then maybe we can get some vehicles. You never know. I mean, vehicles would be interesting. Everyone wants to get forklift certified.
drive the forklift. We have forklifts.
And
Just can't drive them
Goliath
out
was
of fuel.
asking, is it possible to have Wi-Fi while being moored? I assume yes, it would be. I don't know how that relates to anything here, but I assume while you're being digested, you could probably have a phone if you're close enough, and enjoy a little bit more YouTube before you eventually hit the digestive fluids.
Is as I was thinking. Oh, again, I'm thinking out loud.
No, I think people love to hear you think out loud.
Hey, so for these towers, at first I was thinking, oh, they usually have the stairs on the inside or ladders, whatever. But it will make for more interesting visuals if we have them on the outside. Then why not? And if potentially there's gameplay, we can always it's easier to access for the player. This interesting. Not that here, this here, and then all of them upstairs. Good. Let's leave for now. I don't need to detail this out too much at this point. I don't have time. We don't have time. You do. And these prison, I think this will be a very interesting thing to add to have these little slits windows.
Can we have a Ford pickup in the game that'll break
Drives
down
home the idea that
every 10 seconds? Uh, That would be amazing. But I think that would be incredible feature creep. But like I said, go talk to your billionaire dad, and then maybe the Ford pickup Cambian. But sorry, continue your verbal discussion of brainstorming. People love to hear the
No, no,
artist.
no worries. No, no worries. I just want to add something interesting outside of it to make it more fortress-like.
Ooh, that's a good
Thinking
instinct.
these pillars might do the trick. Do this. I have to iterate. Now this window doesn't work. To just move them around. This, etc. This door is out of off center. It bugs me, but it should be more natural that way. Not everything is perfectly centered. You can make it boring if it is. We're not in a Wes Anderson movie. Let's keep it at that. I think it works. Okay, we have a very good solid space. I could think for the sake of time, probably just slap a little bit of material on that and then go back to 2D. But before that, I would like to have material that might actually bring in crates containing all those stuff they need, weapons, food. Not food, just leave it out. Yeah, they can leave it out there. It's cold. It's natural refrigeration. And then a couple more. These off the perfect angle makes it look more natural. People don't do it. Don't stack things that well. You just stack it where they can't. Or it's taken over by snow together.
So, just out of curiosity, is this something you envision as a snowy environment? Just because, like, the shape gives me, the color makes me think snow, but I'm not quite sure if that's like where your artist mind is leading.
I yeah, I did actually because I mean from my research of this particular SCP, it's found in the nature in Canada. So I think a snowy environment will be very fitting. That's why I think there's this. Let's see what else can we give this guy some color. Yeah, that's concrete. Concrete is flexible and to use it everywhere. You can build it pretty easily. That's why we use that. And it's secure. Probably have some snow on top, but we can deal with that later as well. Actually, the towers are concrete. Let's get this stairs a little bit of different material. Darker, maybe. Darker. Doesn't really matter actually, but have this material to snow containers. Let's make it color like a container. About red. Looks like it, but red will sometimes attract too much attention when in gameplay because you know how games are these days. Whatever it's red explodes. Probably should go with something a little neutral.
That is kind of the classic thing. Whenever you see something red, that's the the signifier for the exploding barrels. Well, that was like the classic joke in gaming web comics. Like, oh my god, why do all the bad guys just keep on putting their explosive barrels around? Oh, they're so stupid. Well,
Yeah,
the true enlightened
can't imagine why.
game developers like because it's fun to shoot them. I don't think there are any exploding barrels in SCP-5K yet, but I think that's probably a big design choice, just because it's not supposed to be like a
If we put
Halo,
it there, it will be red.
or
I'm pretty sure we will use red if it's ever gonna. Yeah.
I was going to say we could subvert conventions and have it be green. It's the green barrels that explode.
Yeah. Where you least expect. It's a cool. This could be a stairwell. Let's put that in. Again, when you're working in any stage of the design, it could happen at any stage of design that you find these happy accidents. You just happen to do this and it looks cool
Mm.
and it just sticks. A lot of yeah, oftentimes yeah, I would say I want to be more in control, but it does happen.
Do you have a particular favorite happy accident in either previous work or working on SCP-5K?
Mm, Hmm. I don't think I have a good answer to that because they're kind of trivial because and I forget about them as soon as I'm done with it. But it does stay in your head like, yeah, I got this at one point, and it's something I didn't mean for it to happen, but it happened, and I'm happy about it. So it's kind of hard to you know recall what exactly happened.
Mm. But just that
Here,
when it does
nice
happen,
pipes.
it is like a wonderful to find something that you weren't expecting to.
Yeah, exactly. Got pipes. This is a power facility. I'm gonna make these metal. These metals still so reflective. I don't want to tone it down. Doesn't know. Probably too bright. Things. Nah, it's too dark now. Okay, I want signature refine. No, I guess we should do a thermal. Make it brighter. Yeah, that. Now, once again, I'm not doing very careful designing. It's more like I'm pulling out of my head all the time. Usually, I would do more like researching, looking at real world references to make sure that what I make makes sense. But with a little bit of experience, I can sometimes pull it off without looking at stuff. But to be, you know, professional usually would require me to do a little
Uh,
more research.
well,
Yeah,
I think the fact that you've done like so much molding and shaping just through your own instincts and from a little sketch is very impressive, and that's the kind of magic the SCP-5K audience is here on this Friday night, chilling back and getting to see an artist in the middle of his process. Although Goliath adds, we need shurikens in SCP-5K, exploding shurikens that spawn exploding barrels. Well, I'll tell you this much. If you can write an SCP article and get that article to get officially put up on the wiki, then who knows? Maybe there is a possibility that we will get exploding shurikens. I think what you call Bowman, Albarni, and Trey would be very much against it because I think exploding shurikens go against the tactical shooter aspect that they're working so hard to preserve. But it would be fun, and who knows? With the Omni Edition, maybe they could have a goofy mode where they have like really over the top weapons like the bio weapon, the gun that shoots teeth, and the exploding shuriken weapon. But that means you have to write that SCP article. You got to get it enough votes. You got to sell it. So I hope you do that. We need to add Grover Cleveland to SCP 5K. Everyone's least favorite president, or at least the most unremarkable one. Um, I think you could probably maybe justify it, given the fact that like one of the more infamous SCPs is the Tupac Shakur SCP. So that is a distinct possibility. And then losing sanity's thinking, I'm thinking Cleveland Brown. Well, I think that would summon the most fearsome devil SCP of all, the legal copyright SCP, the most torturous SCP that will hit you with paperwork and make you go bankrupt. But you never know. Maybe as the fray grows, there might be a collaboration between Fox Studios and Seth MacFarlane. Although, beware, you don't want Seth MacFarlane to make an SCP show, do you? Although I'd say the closest thing to an SCP animated show is that Inside Job on Netflix. That kind of felt SCP-ish. But that is canceled because none of you watched it enough. So you only have those 2 seasons. I
Making. Oh, go on, go on.
That was funny. I was reading the comments in like whatchamacallit, how high is social tonight? Bro, it's unhinged. I'm loving it. That's just me riffing. If there's ever dead air, I will riff, especially on the more ridiculous questions that I don't think ye would be able to answer as well as you'd like, whether or not if Grover Cleveland or Cleveland Brown could become in the game. But, I can't promise anything, but I can riff like a mofo. But I'm completely sober, except I'm high on the absolute artistry of ye right now, building this wonderful cardboard tree in Blender. Jesus Christ, this was like nothing a few minutes ago. In like the span of like 45 minutes, you built like a little base here, a whole little comic book base.
Yeah, it's kind of like was it like a low poly game almost? You can have this. You build a game with this too. And although it will take a lot more talent than just messing around with these geometries.
Well,
Oh, what should I do here? I have an idea. I have an idea.
so you live in
I'll
Japan,
be stupid.
uh,
Hmm.
but are you Japanese, Yi?
No, I'm not. I am from Asia, though. I'm from Taiwan.
Ah, well, even if it's not your native land, I was kind of curious to hear your opinion. I know in the world of manga art in Japan, more and more artists are using 3D to build their environments, and I was kind of curious to hear your opinion.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
I imagine it would.
do you think it kind of like builds more
Hmm.
complex pieces, or do you think it's like a betrayal of the art form, and that should just be poor guys making stuff on storyboards?
I uh, I would say people are free to use what they would prefer, what they think works best for them. That's why we use 3D ourselves. But yeah, that's the caveat. It has to work well for that particular purpose. If 3D using 3D in my workflow doesn't improve my workflow, then I wouldn't use it. Or in the sense that improves the outcome of what I do. For example, if I have to like use that particular drawing sketch I just did and bring it up to a more finished level, like what I have here, it will take maybe about the same time. But now I have the space, I can move it around, I can change it much easier than I would having a 2D image. That's why I think it improves my workflow instead of you know, if I'm just going from one image and I know that's all I want, this probably doesn't matter. I can just draw that in 2D. But you know, and for manga artists, I imagine there are definitely things um, that are tedious for them to draw. For example, backgrounds. The manga artists probably specialize more in drawing poses, expressions, and characters in the frame, in the that particular story moment, and having a quicker way for them to come up with environment behind or environment, let's just say background behind it. It will definitely help them create stuff more easily if they use it correctly. I mean, not correctly, like just like tactically. So yeah, I don't think it's a violation to the nature of this industry or of the manga industry, I should say. And if it works well, then why not?
Well said. So far, I haven't seen anyone complain about it. Like sometimes in American comics, people will say that, like, oh, you just traced over a 3D asset. That's lazy. That's stupid. This is bad art. But I don't think that's happened yet in the world of manga, as far as I know. And I think it's becoming more and more common to like do 3D backgrounds or and like some things where you'll have like a really detailed cityscape that's like done in 3D, and it's faster to do that than to just draw it uh to draw it in. Why am I stuttering here? It's easier to build a more complex background than to draw it from scratch. There you go.
Do a bit of cheat here, much like we're talking about right now. We're gonna just make these make this a forest by cheating.
Oh, there you go. The beauty of 3D is that you could
Mhm.
copy objects, right?
Yeah, and you can even randomize it so they're not all the same. And what else should I do? I should they're all dead right now. Should I do? Yeah, I don't use this very often. Object rotation. Let's rotate that. There we go. No, some of those are weird. Hmm. Oh, I think it's the global. No.
Oh God, the trees, the trees they're falling all over.
Yeah, I shouldn't.
It
But
reminds me of
first thing I'm gonna do is
the,
uh,
the infamous potatoes in Skyrim.
yeah. Is this here? No. Okay, okay. So we paint. I'm gonna paint something. What is more? No, what's wrong? Might have to call it off, shut it down, because I don't know how this tool works. I
Oh,
even after a couple of years, many years doing this, I still have things I don't understand.
oh
Or
no.
sometimes it works, sometimes I don't know why. And now it doesn't work anyway.
So there's no way you can just hit
Oh
back
yeah,
button and
this is
reduce
fun.
the number of trees.
You can just, you can definitely hit back button. Oh, now it's working much better. Much better. Do that again.
Or
I'll
save.
move trees here. I don't like this, but I don't know how to fix it right now. I'm just gonna pretend it's not there. I will fix it in the drawing phase. There's oh, trees are going crazy. Don't raise us. No, don't want to die. I might be better off without. I don't know. Let's see, I think there are too many here. Keep it out some more. It blocks the view too much.
Yeah, and some of them are kind of like slanted, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, that's the thing. Thinking about that. Maybe I have to fix it later to the to just draw over them, make them disappear. I think I can weird.
Uh,
Stop it.
Losing
Stop it.
Sanity asks, will there be a forest mission like we saw in the 0.13 trailer? That's a good question. I think Trey teased something outdoorsy, which you got in the Antarctic mission. I can't say if there'll be a playable section outside like that bit in the opening of the trailer. But I will say that you could expect it something in maybe in the DLC. I think that like that's kind of like where the Dream Box and the Omni Edition DLC is kind of planned to play around with the format. So you never know. Don't confirm it. Things could always change. It's a long road till we get to 1.0. But along that way, we still hope to have plenty of fun surprises for you guys before the game is finished.
Okay, that's what I want to know. That's what I want to do. Just gonna ignore those slanted trees and the I'm gonna do is figure that out later after this. I want to know how to fix the problem. Sure, what I'm gonna do is the camera scene. The hell? Here we go. And beauty of 3D once again, you can move your camera around to find the shots after you did it to build them. If you're in 2D, you have a composition done, you're stuck with it. You can start over, but you're stuck with that for that particular attempt. In 3D, you can always do this. Maybe this is better, maybe this is better. We have a facility in the forest that looks kind of heavily guarded. Here we go. And that tower back here a little bit so that it's in view. Yeah, looks good. Facility there. Another little magic trick. I want to introduce some lighting
Ooh. Oh my
to
God! You can have any lighting and golden hour at any time of day.
yeah, the beauty of 3D. Why don't you just do 3D all the way? Now, I mean, there are very convenient things you can do, but I don't think Sunny fits this because it's like a snow environment and want it to be creepy in a way because it's like a security environment. Let's see. I want it to be, yeah, that's better. But midday, good. I don't need that much sun. Just keep it overcast, like you would in a sunny, I mean, in a cloudy day, cloudy, snowy environment. This guy is getting in the way. I don't need him anymore. Intensity, something like this.
Well, I'm kind of curious
Okay,
though. How
not
did you
bad.
get all the
Good
way from?
tweaks, some last minute color tweaking.
How did you get all the way from Taiwan to Japan?
Um, the the cheeky way. I married a Japanese.
Oh, oh, that's so sweet. Where did? How did you meet her?
Yeah, yeah. Back in my home country, Taiwan. She
Oh,
was not travel. She was there to learn Chinese, learn the language, and I was learning Japanese at the time, and we met because we could, learning each other's languages, kind of meet up, and things just got very smooth from there.
that's wonderful to hear. Um, does she also do art, or does she work in a completely different industry?
It's completely different. I don't get to meet people very often that does what I do. Not even the game industry is so big right now, but it's still not the biggest of industries out there. What do I need? What else do I need? Oh, I know what we need. Can do some atmosphere. Wondering why I put a box over this thing I just made. Because I'm gonna introduce fog. Too dense. Here in the sphere. Can use a little bit of this. There we go. Okay. I think this is pretty good base to draw, to move on with. Here, just like this. Okay. Yeah. Normally, well, not normal. This is not a normal workflow, but at this point, I think it's good enough to maybe render this out using on Blender and then paint over it. I don't know if we're running out of time, but I could continue doing that, or
Well, I would love
we've
to
got a
see
good chunk of
uh,
what my work looks like.
I would love to see you do the painting. So I think that would be really cool. It's like the final phase of this operation. We have been. How are you feeling? What time is it over in Japan for you?
It's close to 11 a.m. Yeah,
Okay.
I can definitely do like go over a little bit more to like bring it to have a nicer finishing to this session.
Yeah, because
Because right now it looks like a yeah.
but you did a great job
Sorry.
creating this base. But yeah. Let me know, of course, if if you have any time constraints or you have to head out soon. Thank you so much for being able to find the time to do this. Since we have been going for nearly 2 hours, but so I always like to check in with the talent to see how you're going and see if you're good to proceed. But if you think you could do a little bit of the sketching.
Um
Oh, sorry.
yeah. I think so. It wouldn't at this point I have this space. I wouldn't probably take it wouldn't take too long for me to go into a bit of drawing, painting over for it. So I could definitely do that.
Awesome.
And let's say give it another 30 minutes or so
Okay.
at most.
Yeah, that sounds fair. I will
Yeah.
keep an eye on the clock and let you know when we hit 30 minutes, and we'll see how far we get. And I think you've done a great job of like
Cool.
going from sketch to 3D, and now we are going to the final third of this incredible demonstration. Uh, Yi is about to show us how to transform 3D image into a drawn piece of concept art. It is kind of funny though when you think about it. You are making a sketch to turn into a 3D image to then turn into a sketch again, which will then be used by another 3D artist to turn into 3D again.
Mm. Yeah, it's all about the modern workflow these days. Whatever is, and yeah, as much hassle as it sounds, it's actually faster,
Really?
or it's more beneficial for the workflow. Yeah,
I had
yeah.
no
So
idea.
what I'm gonna do here,
Do you ever like
believe it or not,
share
I
the
think it
3D
is.
environment with like the 3D artists? Does that ever help them?
Yeah, sometimes good when, at the very least, sometimes they say I have right now I don't have maybe this prop over here. Who's that guy? I have another guy. No, I don't have a guy. I killed him. Okay, let's say this is a human here. I created this prop. I'm a much nicer version of this probably, and I use this to create a concept art, to draw over it, get detailed, and then pass it to the 3D artist, and they say, "Oh, cool. Could you?" Is it? Sometimes we could provide the 3D model, this one, so they could have a better idea of okay, how big this is relative to a human. So when they build it, they don't have to just look at an image. They can actually move this around, actually build their detailed version, pretty version, using this as a base, much like what I'm doing here. This, okay, this is perfect. No, something like that. So yeah, it whatever helps the workflow. Sometimes we have to, not have to, that we can. It's something we have, and it helps. So we do. Last minute change. Okay, I'm gonna re-render. If that will work. Want some layers.
So right now, are you just looking to pick your angle?
Gonna take a few seconds. I did pick my angle. I used the camera, and I'm just rendering it out so I can put it back to Photoshop, back to the drawing application to finish it. Now I'm waiting for it to render. It shouldn't take too long. Let's we can just talk over it for I don't know, maybe 30 seconds or so.
So, just out of curiosity, do you just like take a screenshot of your 3D image, or do you keep Blender open on another window as you start sketching?
Oh, I mean, I'm the rendering by rendering I mean rendering using a 3D engine that's built in Blender, and that takes a little bit of time. So that opens another window which is not shown, but I will bring it back to Photoshop where you guys will see it. Let
Um,
me save that real quick.
so we
Give
do
me a
have another question from YouTube. This one comes from Rishi, which asks, "What problems do you face going from concept to 3D directly?"
going from 3D to concept directly as part of my workflow. Let's see, 3D is well, it's much like I think I kind of described the benefits of 2D versus 3D or vice versa. 3D has no, I should say 2D has a lot more flexibility. because you're just thinking 2D. You're thinking, putting things here and there, moving it on a plane instead of thinking about 3D space. But when you actually try to build in 3D, which is often the case and often necessary in game development, you're building out that block with like what I just did. You have to think about the 3D space because things wouldn't make sense if you don't consider it. And that's when you start to run into problems that you haven't considered during the 2D phase, and you have to during the 3D. So it's a problem, sure, but it's also things that you will have to solve to make that design work. Yeah, I think we have what we need. Go back to Photoshop. I'll I'll switch the screen back in a second. Here, here, here. There we go. Okay, let's figure this out. My screen, change it to Photoshop. Yeah. Okay, now we're back to, this is the rendered image that I got from my build, the 3D build. And I also got some extra layers from it that I could use to kind of make it more effective. Or I paint over it. Once again, it's not every time you do this, you don't have to, because you can be as flexible as you want. Say you can be even more, build out even less than what I just did, and then just draw the rest. I think for the sake of this demo, I feel like it's better to build out a little bit more so that it shows what 3D can do, how I use it at the very least. Here, yeah, I think we are good for a little paint over. Okay, right now, pick a good brush. These snow environments are very bright because the snow, during daytime, the snow will reflect the sunlight, the light coming from the sky, and then back into our eyes. Let's make it foggy. Then I'll miss a little bit. Nope, that's not what I want. Work with me here. That's better. Brighter, a little more contrast. Right now it's a bit of kind of washed out here. Then paint on top of this, be fine. Like these are the ones that's bothering me. I'm just gonna paint over them. Doesn't have to be perfect because we know it's a tree. There are trees.
It's so funny to watch you like kind of like trace over. So would you say this part is relaxing, more relaxing than the 3D modeling?
The process that doesn't require too much designing is the more relaxing ones. I say yes because I'm just thinking, okay, what does a tree look like, and how do I make it look like a tree instead of okay, how does this work with gameplay? How should I make this? How big should I make it? Yeah, the kind of design thinking is the most brain consuming, and things like this is just muscle memory, more or less, to just paint over to make things how I want them to look.
Years of training.
And yeah, and it's fun though. This slanted tree. So many slanted trees. Paint over them. It's pretty good too. I wish that maybe later introduce some snow on them too. Look better. They are too clean. Again, I could have done it in 3D as well. I don't know how well it will come out. It could happen that you have to jump between 2D and 3D many times, a few times before getting to that optimal effect you're looking for. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we got parse and all the nice little woods. This thing is painted over a bit. Let's bring that back here too. Top area. Oh, this guy. I thought I deleted, but no. Oh, I can always just paint her in. I don't need him right now. Stumps. Like now, the snow is a little too, let's say, uniform looking. Let's bring in a little bit of artistic. Make it more natural looking.
Do you have a particular favorite brush you like?
I have accumulated a good amount of brush over the years, but yeah, I would say many of them they excel in different things. So for example, I'm using a pretty standard brush. It has a like color jittering. You can see when I paint over something, it creates this texture that is just like smudging things around. I like the way it does that, especially in this case, because this is like a natural environment. I want things to not be perfect. When I do this, creating some snow on top of these, definitely happens. Accumulate when it snows. Here, woods, here. Gosh, crappy, whatever.
We do have another interesting question from Axo. What are some suggestions for other people who want to make their own SCP games and are working on an environment map for their game? So I guess what tools would you suggest for people wanting to get into environmental art to make SCP games?
Hmm. That's a good question. Actually, to answer that, I feel that I want to answer first what kind of game you want to make. Is it a action game? Is it a FPS like 5K? Or is it what else can you make? Strategy game. So all those things might require different kind of tools when you're making a game. I've never been a game director, but I think I do know that making different kind of games will require you to think a little differently. For example, if you're doing like I don't know how it sounds, but if you're doing like a 2D pixel RPG game, or if you're like doing your own game without a huge budget, you might need to think about ways to reduce the budget to make things happen
Well,
without too much resources.
well,
You might
here's a
not want to go to 3D because 3D takes long. Yeah.
in that regard, I've always kind of wondered: is a pixel game easier or harder to do? Just because like pixel art seems like I don't know, it looks like a very tedious art form to do, as far as I know.
Well, it's not. I don't want to say it's easy, but it does. It's more doable if you're one person. I feel. I think so. Yeah, because if you're like what I'm doing here, all this time it took me to create this piece. It's just a concept art. At the end of the day, if you're gonna make a full-on 3D game like 5K, you have to have 3D artists to actually model everything here. They're probably not just one person. But nowadays you can source kind of different resources over the internet, the Unreal Store, etc. But it's still a lot of work. And if you're one person, you have to do all of that. Would I imagine it would take a lot of time. It's never saying it's impossible, but it's yeah, in comparison to, for example, pixel game. Of course, you have to know how to make pixel games, make pixel art, but I feel that it's a lot more attainable. I could be wrong. I've never done a pixel game before.
Well, you're doing a good
Just
job
speaking
of selling it
from
right now. That it's like a little bit easier to do.
yeah, yeah, I see so. I could be wrong still, but yeah, those 3D games. No, that's the reason why all those AAA games cost millions to make these days, is because this sheer amount of work that it takes to reach that kind of quality, I guess, finishing.
Yeah, just so much money into 3D artwork, and there's such a huge demand for it. That's one big reason why you're not getting 5K so quickly, just because these games are very hard to make. They're very
Yeah,
time consuming. Um, and that's why
yeah,
like the Call of Duties,
good people.
as much as you might think they're mediocre, they still have thousands of people slaving away to like put out one of those once or twice a year.
Absolutely. And they can do that almost yearly. It's the amount of people working on it. It's just crazy. And they charge a lot as well, more and more each year.
Do they charge a lot? Because like I always thought that the people
I think
are
so.
overworked.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of a different. Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, not the people. The for the games. Activision charges a lot for the games.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now
They're
game
become
prices have
more
gone
more
up.
and more
That
expensive every year.
just out of curiosity though, do you
Yeah.
play many games yourself?
I I don't play as much as I would like to. I love playing games, but sometimes when you're out of time,
I
don't have
know
enough time. You have life to attend to.
adulting really does get in the way, unfortunately.
Adult, yeah. The adult is inhibiting the child within me.
If you make games, you won't have much time to play games. Although I'm just curious, what game have you really enjoyed recently?
Recently, I picked up Ghost of Tsushima,
Oh, I hear that's supposed to be really good.
and it's absolutely beautiful. It's an open world-ish. You definitely call it open world because it's a big environment, and you can just roam freely. And yeah, they did it. I think it's a Sucker Punch Games,
Yeah,
Sucker Punch
that's the
Studio. They
studio.
made they absolutely did an absolutely beautiful job bringing to life that kind of huge environment, huge amount of lore and gameplay, and the thoughts put into it is pretty impressive. I haven't, you know, for it's been a while since I played a game and I feel that okay, that's pretty clever what they did. That kind of thinking in my head. I recommend it definitely if
Are
you
you
have time.
playing it? Are you playing it on PC or PS5?
I am playing on PC.
Um,
Don't
oh,
currently have PS5. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
personally, I prefer console to I like console better than uh, I like console better than PC just because I feel like you need a high end PC to like run modern games.
Oh yeah. We do. I mean, yeah, just for because we work as in 3D, we kind of need pretty decent these 3Cs to begin with. So that kind of benefits us that we can usually run high-end games reasonably well,
So
at least some
that
benefit.
that's a good benefit for it. You don't find though like all the space you need from to run all your programs and save all your files. You don't think that ever gets in the way of you doing a question. Does Affray use these streams to constantly force watch their employees and force them to work overtime?
Mhm. No,
J-
as a official answer, I have to say no.
that's a good question, and if that was the purpose, we'd have them every day, and we'd have them swapping from employees. I would love that, just because I could run it cynically and be yelling for super chats and new memberships a little bit more aggressively. But no, we do this as an effort to like let you know that work is being done on the games. We are not sleeping. Stuff is being done, and I think it's great because we've got like this wonderful people that are across the globe in different places making wonderful art. Oh my God, this looks so cool with the black and white now. Uh, and this is a great place to show it. You've got guys from Norway, you've got guys from Scotland, you've got a Taiwanese gentleman in Japan. This is the great spirit of the global melting pot coming together to make a gameplay experience that you love. And that is the purpose of these streams, to let you guys know and get to know people. And I hope you've enjoyed yourself, tonight. Because I know you were a little nervous starting this,
I
although,
did.
to be
Hmm.
honest, everyone's always kind of
Oh,
nervous.
absolutely, absolutely. I was like shivering, you know, because talking and drawing isn't. I don't know. Maybe some artists are attuned to it. I don't have too much experience with that, but at least I'm talking about something I'm familiar with. So, and it's actually fun. Once the hardest part is always before it begins. Think, okay, how is it gonna go? Am I gonna do okay? Is it everyone's gonna think I'm stupid? But once you start on it, you're doing something that you basically familiar with doing every day or a job, and then it becomes just second nature for you. Everything takes over.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. It's always interesting to get experts who are able to show off their craft, speak technically, and give you a little peek behind the curtain of their work process. And I think it's extremely satisfying to see exactly how you operate and what you get to do.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Thanks for everyone joining, by the way, showing interest in seeing watching me mumbling to myself
I think you
verbally.
mumbling is the best part. I think it's
Yeah.
fantastic to see you like illustrate what you're doing. It's like having a backseat to the director's commentary.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to see that. it is, yeah, the with the way how what goes inside the heads of those people creating this. I think it's always interesting to see other artists. Like as an artist myself, it's very interesting to see other artists thinking out loud when they do their lives or like when they're drawing and talk about how they approach certain things. Maybe that's why some artists really enjoy doing this. Okay,
Well,
let's give you
there are a
some
lot of people,
background. I never bothered.
and it can be very lucrative. Sometimes people love being able to just do like casual art streams. And being able to
Oh yeah.
have people throw them money while they just like draw animation or do some art. Or one of the very popular genres on YouTube is the artist commentary channel, where someone will draw something and then they'll like talk about it. There's one I like called Beige Frequency, and he does like these sort of like pseudo documentaries on like MMA figures and comedians, and then he draws like a caricature of the MMA fighter or the comedian.
Yeah,
Eh,
absolutely. There you can get a lot of you know, what you call it, views. Yeah, views and become like a internet celebrity doing these for sure.
I think people like it because it's oddly satisfying. It just kind of transfix you, and it just like it helps you. Um, helps calm down.
Mm, yeah, it does. People could try drawing themselves. It's also very therapeutic when you don't have to think about now if this you're not doing the work, maybe. Drawing is a very calming exercise. Let's do some special effects. Oh, maybe it's too much. Let's get rid of some of that. Just need enough to show that it's there. Doesn't need to be, doesn't need to draw too much attention to it.
Genesis, good question. The next devlog is coming very soon. It was just uploaded. It was given to me by Venny, so I have it in my possession. I just need to get a thumbnail for it and figure out a time. It's a little bit shorter. It's only like 2 minutes, so it kind of goes over the new checkpoint system in patch 14.1. So look for that devlog soon, maybe sometime this weekend. So yes, the new devlog is coming very, very, very soon.
Hmm. Is this too like fairy tale-ish? Okay. I don't
You
like
feel like it's
that.
a little too fantastical.
Yeah, I just want to make it like snowy look, to add a little bit of motion in this picture, in this image, which is contradictory to say, but it does. Sometimes it does work. That's okay, I think. Something's off with the colors as well, which I want to do something about it. Well, after I do this, probably. I need. Okay. Need this. Get rid of this. Too much. Need to select it here. Also not here. Up here. And select those trees. What am I gonna do? Okay, this. Oh, I just painted it out. Sure, why not? I'll just that and gonna take another one of my favorite brushes. No, it's not. I'm just choosing randomly. Make a snowy.
Uh, also another interesting question from Losing Sanity. How does HDR work in 5K yet? I wish I could answer that. I am not technical. That would be an Al Barney question, but Al Barney is not here. So I have no idea if HDR works in 5K yet. What is that? High dynamic range lighting or something? Yeah, when a fray has like 100 people working and there's a whole team dedicated to devlogs, uh, I mean, as beautiful as a fray is, the fact that we've got like so many people that are across the globe, it's also kind of a nightmare because like you could be like, hey, I need this thumbnail. Oh, too bad. The art director is off asleep. Bad time because this is not the hour to get something from Al Barney. Watch out. You can't talk to Al Barney now because sharks are eating the power cable that gives online in Tasmania because that's where he lives, in Tasmania. When he goes to work on his computer, he's got to kick away the Tasmanian devils to get to work. um, so it can kind of make things a little bit of a nightmare when, like, you give something to someone, but you don't hear back, and then things kind of get pushed down the road because everyone's working in time zones. In the future, where a fray becomes unfeeling behemoth like Electronic Arts and becomes a super megalopoly and can afford to move all of our freelance artists and permanent staff together to live in a happy community like Google, where everyone gets free breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the cafeteria. Maybe then we could do weekly devlogs. But I mean, even like a company like Bungie, which is pretty big, they only do devlogs like when they're about to release something. Devlogs released every day. That would be an amazing endeavor. Captain Crunch, calm down.
Hey, I think, yeah, given the time, this is an okay stage to get to. Of course, you can always go back in. You keep going out all of the little things, add things. But as an idea, as a sketch that gets the idea across, this is a pretty good stage.
Yeah, and you did this in like what, 2.5 hours? Like a little under 3 hours. Very impressive showing. Like, yeah, 2.5 hours or just about.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. Good for me. Didn't freak out too much.
Yeah. So I think you
Oh
said you
yeah,
wanted to wrap
well,
up in like a half an hour, right?
well, that's about it. Yeah, I mean, about the right time.
All right. So thank you so much. All right, guys. We are about to wrap it up in like 2, 3 minutes. We are gonna wind down. please send me in your questions. Speed shot. You got Yi here. He's got a loving wife that he wants to spend the rest of his weekend with. You got him for a few more minutes. Give him questions. What are the things do you want to ask for the environment before we wrap things up? What do you think of other SCP projects such as SCP Reborn or SCP Fragmented Minds? Always, my personal opinion is I always love other SCP projects because it gets people to like SCP. It gets people to get into the universe, which of course benefits Afray, and Afray helps benefit them. So I think it's great to have more people in the SCP family. Yi, do you have a response about what you think about other SCP projects like SCP Reborn or SCP Fragmented Minds?
I am once again embarrassingly ignorant regarding SCPs. I will have to look up what those are first.
That's perfectly fine. I'm sure he would love to take a look at all the concept art that's featured in those projects. But it is always good to have more SCP stuff. So keep an eye out. I'm working on a special July 4th theme movie night that I will try and do. Once I get the approval, I will post about what the time and date is. Right now, we have the SCP 5K sale on Steam. That's right. You can get SCP 5K for 25% off. One of the steepest discounts possible. But get it now. These summer sales don't last forever. So pick it up. Go get it. Go support the game. If you have your SCP Peanut plush, go snuggle with it. Put it on your computer. Make it very nice. Genesis asks, if you slip into a banana, will you no-clip into the back rooms? Justice for Bananazilla. I think there's a very good chance. Honestly, I think if you slip on a banana, Bananazilla will go get you. I think that's what will happen. But Yi, do you think you'll go into the no clip into the back rooms if you slip on a banana?
Probably. I have to, yeah.
So there you go.
There's no saying because
don't
there's so many things we don't know about SCPs.
don't step on bananas. You do not want to step on banana peels. Bad things happen. It is not good to step on bananas. You will either get eaten by Bananazilla or you will go to the back rooms. So with that, now that we have this gorgeous finished piece, Yi, any final thoughts before we leave these people to head off in the evening?
Well, just to quickly thank everybody for joining. Thanks for putting up with me. Thank you for showing interest in me, showing my process, how we work on our game SCP-5K. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I was nervous, but it's been a lot of fun sharing all these with you guys. So have a nice evening and a weekend.
Make sure you check out his ArtStation, Yi Lo on ArtStation, to check out his work for other games. Always stay tuned to the Afray socials. I have more art from Yi, which I will probably be posting on the Instagram and other places. And thank you for showing up. Stay tuned for future announcements. And with that, we bid you a fantastic evening. Remember, be civil, meme, spread your dank memes, but don't get hostile. It's always fun to laugh at Sonic the Hedgehog, and it was a pleasure hanging out with you all in this evening. And with that, I bid you adieu and end the stream.